This burden a lot of times falls on that sandwich generation who now has to pay for childcare and, their elderly loved ones' care, and it's squeezing them tight. So a lot of times, if your elderly loved ones don't have the money to be able to afford this, it can get, really uncomfortable.
You're listening to Ice Cream with Investors, a podcast that is dedicated to teaching you how to better invest your money so that you can live a more intentional life. I'm your host, Matt Four, and it is my goal to teach and empower you to remove the roadblocks to your financial success.
All right, Isabelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we like to start with the difficult questions here. What's your favorite ice cream?
I love that. That's the most difficult one I'll be asked all day, I'm sure. You know what? I'm like a birthday cake ice cream type of gal, like kids flavors, if it's blue, if it's got sprinkles or bubble gum, it's like, okay, I want that.
I love it. Actually, in over 200 episodes now, I don't think we've ever gotten birthday cake or cotton candy or bubble gum. So you are very unique.
Okay, I like it.
Now, you are joining us from Phoenix. If we're in the Phoenix area, do you have a favorite ice cream shop that you would recommend?
Oh, I don't really have, you know what? I don't know the name of it, but there's a really good one in Gilbert where it's like handmade ice cream. It's in this small shop where there's a bunch of different stores called Barn One out in Gilbert. And I don't know what the particular ice cream store is, but it's really good ice cream and you can kind of customize your flavor there.
I love it. I love it. Get all the cotton candy and cookie dough that you want, right?
Yes.
Good deal. Well, tell our listeners, what's the scoop? What do you do today?
I teach and own and operate residential assisted living. So turning single family homes into housing for seniors, for the baby boomers and the silent generation, right? Who needs assisted living right now. That's what I do.
Yeah, well, we were chatting a little bit beforehand. We are starting to look at more and more senior developments and senior housing operations. And you could not have come at a more perfect time for me to ask a bunch of questions. But before we kind of get into the meat of the interview, take us back. Where did your real estate journey begin?
Actually, my dad had been a real estate investor my entire life for, 30 years before I started working with him. But my grandmother, she fell and broke her hip, and the doctor was like, she can't go home alone. She needs 24/7 care. So we started looking for a place for her to go. And my dad, being a real estate investor, was like, wait. I'm going to pay $5,000 a month for her to live in one of these, or I could own the real estate, operate the business, cash flow $10,000 a month, and she could live for free. So he stopped everything else he was doing in real estate and went all into this with the intent to move my grandmother in. She passed before we could move her in, but he kind of fell in love with the industry. And I had never really been interested in what he was doing. Like growing up, we were always talking about real estate and trends and things like that because he'd been an investor his whole life. And this was the first time that I was like, what's going on here? I want to learn more. So he taught me everything he knew about this business. And that was about 10 years ago. So I've been working with him for 8 years. He passed 2 years ago and I took over the business from there. So it's been quite a journey.
So I'm always interested when I hear of parents being involved in real estate and kind of the impact that has on you as a child. Not to get too deep, but like take us back when you were a child. Do you remember going to real estate projects? Was it always a topic in the household? Like, what was that like?
We definitely would talk about it. We'd drive by different properties. He would show us places that he owned or had renovated or was leasing out. And so it was definitely a conversation. I remember going to a bunch of different open houses. They would love to buy like ugly homes and then turn them into gorgeous, beautiful mansions that we would actually like live in, right? And it was just like their fun projects, but all sorts of stuff. It was always a topic of conversation. I do remember as a kid walking into a home that actually I probably helped them get a deal, but we walked in the home. And I'm a kid and I'm like, this is so ugly. Why would we live here? And I'm crying and the seller's like, just shocked. And my parents were like, oh my God, shush, like be quiet. And I was like, this is terrible. And they turned it into like the most stunning, beautiful home. But I probably helped them get a deal. I should have done that more often.
Yeah. So my understanding of your story, though, is you initially didn't get involved in real estate. And if I'm reading some of your bio correctly, were you a Walt Disney intern as well?
Yep, I
I
interned at Walt Disney. Yeah, you
I feel
too.
like that's no, but I feel
Oh,
like that's a very like coveted job. How did you stumble upon that? Just tell me about that, just because I'm interested.
yeah, actually, in college, I found out about a program where I was like going to graduate early, so I was like, I got to figure out something to do because I don't want to go in the workforce yet, right? And so I was like looking for internships, looking at going abroad, and then I found this program, which is actually really hard to get into, and I applied and got it. Got to move to Orlando for about 9 months. And they take you through tons of business development and coaching, as well as you get to actually work I was working in the Magic Kingdom. So, every day, the 3 o'clock parade, the nighttime fireworks, it was like a lot of fun, actually. I loved it, but we're learning the behind the scenes as well as working on the floor. And it was just an all encompassing experience.
That's amazing. I had a friend whose son was in the Imagineer program. I
Yeah.
think it is. It's where they design the real world. So, like one of his big things was Animal Kingdom. They
Yeah.
were setting up like all the different countries in there, and so he traveled to those countries to get inspiration, prayer flags, like all these different things. And apparently, the story goes that when he was in fifth grade, somebody that led that team came in and spoke to his high school, and he's like met the guy and said, I want to do this when I grow up, and ended up working for that guy later in his career. So it's
I
like the
love
most
that.
cool story ever. Yeah.
That is amazing. It's actually it taught me so many things about business and how to treat people. And I really appreciate that experience because, I mean, love them or hate them, they're incredible at what they do.
I was getting ready to say that, like, politics aside, wherever you are in this Disney debate that's going on right now in our society, they do the details exceptionally well. And that is something we could all learn in our businesses.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's get back to the assisted living here, or the senior living. So from my understanding, there's a difference between residential assisted living and independent living, and then senior housing. So talk us through this senior housing industry like we don't know anything. What is senior housing, and why is it a big opportunity?
Yeah. So independent living is kind of more the Golden Girls model, right? For mature women living in a home who need minor help with landscaping or changing a light bulb. Maybe they're paying a little bit more than they would to just be renting that one solo room themselves because they're getting that extra help, kind of like a property manager who they can call. But it's really not assisting with their care or their needs in that regard. It's more of help with the real estate and minor things of that nature. So that's not what we do, but definitely a booming business. Then there's the Brookdale, Sunrise, Atrium, the big box facilities we all know and think of when someone says assisted living, right? So this is more of a commercial opportunity or a facility. We kind of do something right in the middle, which is a residential home in a single family neighborhood, but it has somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. They're paying about the same that they would in a facility, but their care is drastically better for lack of a better word, because in a facility it's 30 seniors to one caregiver. In our homes it's 4 to 1 or 5 to 1, so there's a lot more hands-on care. These seniors do need help with their activities of daily living, so bathing, toileting, eating, taking medication, brushing their hair and their teeth. So it is that 24/7 care model, but it's not in a big commercial facility, it's in a residential home.
Yeah. So first of all, when you say Golden Girls, I would love to live with Blanche and Rose. I don't know about you, but like that would be a dream come true. But when you said 6 to 16, so I'm assuming that's regulated by the state, or is there a national regulation around this? What does that look like?
There's no national rules on this. It's all state regulated. So every state will tell you a number. For example, Texas says 16, but Dallas says 8. Right outside
Oh,
of Dallas is 12. So your state may have a number, and then your city or county may have a number as well. But for the most part, whatever the state number is, you can sometimes get a variance if your county or city is less than the state number. But it always is between 6 and 16 from what I've seen.
gotcha. Then how did like the big box out there have these huge facilities with like 100? Is that just like a different class, or what is that
Correct.
called?
So they're commercial, right? We're residential. We're literally in like a regular home that you would drive by and not even know that it's a care home. Instead of mom, dad, 2 kids, and a dog, It's 10 seniors. And when I say single family, I don't mean a 3 bed, 2 bath. I mean a luxury upscale home in a really nice part of town. So think 300 to 500 square feet per resident. With 10 residents, that's minimum a 3,000 square foot home, upwards of 5,000 would be very comfortable.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I'm assuming when we're talking about this, the first question I have is that still seems like a lot of people in a tight spot. Does everybody have their own room? Do they do split rooms? What does that look like?
For the most part, most seniors are going to want private bedrooms, private bathrooms. So you are going to renovate the home to become, 7+ bedrooms for 10 residents, for example. It's okay to have a couple shared options, but you really want as many private bedrooms and bathrooms as you can because it's a lot easier to market those and fill them than it is a shared space.
Okay. Going back to regulations. So I'm assuming that if I'm going to start in this business today and start running one of these residential assisted living in a single family home, I would have to have some sort of license with the state. Is that true? Or what does that look like?
So the physical home will have a license, and that's going to be based on mostly safety, right? Fire suppression, points of egress, square footage requirements, things of that nature. Doesn't have to be ADA compliant, but you want it as close to that as possible. So the physical home will get that stamp of approval once you've renovated it and got it ready to go up to your state standards. Then you're going to be hiring a licensed administrator. So they have a license to be able to care and run these facilities. That's not you. It's someone you're hiring to do all the day to day. Hire and fire and schedule your caregivers, market and tour the homes and fill those beds. They could be doing payroll. They could be doing relationships with all the different independent contractors. Whatever the case is, they're kind of like in the real estate world, your property manager, right? And then there's the license that the caregivers have. So you'll be hiring licensed caregivers who are doing the day-to-day care for the residents. They also might be doing the cooking and cleaning as well, but their number one priority is the care of the residents. And you technically don't have a license, right? It's the home, the administrator, the caregivers. You just own and operate the business, working on it, not in it. So you don't need a license you yourself.
Gotcha. This licensed administrator, or again, quote unquote, just an analogy as a property manager, essentially. What are the licensing requirements for that? What is that? I'm assuming it varies state by state, but in general, what does that typically look like?
It does vary state by state, and it's usually something in regards to taking some form of a course. It could be 2 hours up to 80 hours. And it's really learning how to care for the residents, how to run the home properly, things of that nature. And then you're really showing them what policies and procedures you want within your home, what core values and culture you're trying to create. And then you're making sure that they know what tasks you want them to do. But the license is not, it's more of like a medical license. These aren't nurses. They're not doctors, right? It's CNAs, certified nursing assistants, or HHAs, home health aides. And that's typically your caregivers are being paid like minimum wage plus a couple dollars an hour. So if minimum wage in your area is $15, they may be getting like 18, maybe $19 an hour. Your administrator is usually overseeing 2 to 4 homes. It is not full time for them to oversee one home. And they typically get paid like 65 to 75K a year to oversee multiple homes.
That's what I was going to ask too, is do they oversee multiple homes or just one? Because I can imagine that that's not enough work for them to be full time in just one home.
It's not, because it's really one of those businesses where people always like tell me like it is hands-on, because I'll say it's a hands-off business. I spend 5 hours a week on my 3 homes. It is hands-on. Not for me though. It's hands-on for the administrator, right? They're the ones doing all of that day to day, and it's hands-on for the caregivers, not for the business owner and operator. So they are, licensed to do this, and then they are working in the home, right? Quote, but really it's in multiple homes. If they don't visit one home all day long, that's fine. There may not have been a need for them there that day. But if there's an emergency, I'm not being called. They're being called. They're the ones who are going in the middle of the night or whenever.
These CNAs, is that a nursing license essentially?
More or less. And again, it's kind of one of those things where you take a course depending on your state. It could be low, it could be higher. And some states have even less requirements than that. They don't even require you to be a CNA or an HHA. So every state is vastly different. I do
Gotcha.
recommend If your state has low requirements, you look at a state that has higher requirements and you say, this is what we are requesting in our home, because we're not, just because the state says we're allowed to be this lame, we're not going to be this lame. We're going to be the best,
Yeah.
and kind of require more.
So shoot for California. Don't go with Texas.
Texas is pretty easy to work in a care home. So yes.
Yeah. Are these licensed administrators, are they harder to find now? I keep hearing in the healthcare industry, obviously there's a nursing shortage, which is requiring travel nurses to take more longer term roles. Are these qualified people hard to find these days, or how do you find them?
Currently this industry is run by 80% to immigrants. It's a lot of times it's people from other countries who come over. Maybe they were a doctor or nurse in their other country and their credentials didn't translate when they came to America. So things, have changed for them, and they have a heart for seniors and the geriatric industry. And so sometimes that's who it is. Other times it's young people who are here and were born and raised in America, and this is just what they do. They just maybe were raised by their grandma and they just love this. Community colleges are starting to have more and more courses for CNAs and HHAs because of this lack. And we just have a massive need. The reality is, it's not that, all of a sudden we have less people going into this industry. It's actually the opposite. We have more seniors now than we've ever had before. The silver tsunami of seniors is coming. This is a 20-year wave that just is starting right now. And we're currently 1.3 million beds short. We're not just beds short, we're workers short. So it's not that people are not coming into this industry. It's that there's more need than we've ever had in the entirety of, from what I know, the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I read a stat the other day, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but like something like 10,000 people a day turn 65 in the United States. I mean,
That's
it's just
correct.
insane when you look at the tsunami coming.
Yes, that is correct. And it is astronomical. And it's one of those things where there's no better time to get into this industry. And I don't even care what you do in this industry, whether it's residential assisted living like me, whether it's getting into medical beds, hearing aids, diapers, right? I don't care. This is a huge opportunity. It's like being in 2008 and having a crystal ball. We can all see what's coming. And it's pretty obvious, right? We're going to have a ton of seniors who can no longer stay at home. They own the majority of the real estate in our country today. So someone's going to have to do something with that. They're also the majority business owners. So they have the capital to pay for their care needs. On average in our country today, it costs $5,350 per person to live in a care home. And that's average, right? Including our friends on government funding as well as our private pay friends. So that's a vast, jump. Private pay, we're seeing more like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 per month per resident. So it's astronomical. There's a massive need.
Yeah, my parents are 78 and 76. So this is obviously a conversation that we are thinking about, talking about. And when I saw the numbers for the first time, I'm like, holy smokes, that is a lot of money. A lot
Yep.
of money.
And most people aren't prepared, right? It's not like a lot of people, talk about elder care kind of the way that we have referred to child care. Like, it's insanely expensive these days as well. I don't know if you saw that Dave Ramsey thing that was like so funny the other day. He's like, what are you paying these astronomical rates for? It's like, that's the rates these days.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But when you're about to have a baby, you have 9 months to prepare for that. You have a long time to say, what are our options? What choices do we have? A lot of times when you need assisted living, you need it now. It's not like this. We have years or months. So I'm glad you're having that conversation with your loved ones, because it can get scary when all of a sudden you have to make a decision overnight. And in this economy, most people can't quit their job and afford to take care of mom or dad themselves, let alone they might not be the right person to do that. I am incredibly impatient. I am not the right person to take care of seniors. It doesn't mean I can't provide a beautiful home with amazing care with people who are patient and can for my same loved ones. It doesn't have to be me. I just want to be able to provide that opportunity.
Yeah. You've mentioned $5,000, $10,000. So when I hear you talk about this space, transparently, I hear a lot of regulations, and regulations make me nervous as an investor because now I have to cross T's, dot I's, make sure I'm compliant, all these sorts of stuff. However, when you're talking about that many regulations, there's usually a high barrier to entry. And if there's a high barrier to entry, on the backside of that is usually some juicy returns.
Yep.
So talk to us about some of the returns that you see in this space, assuming that like in your facilities today, what do they look like? How many beds? What's the revenue? All those sorts of things.
Hey, fellow investors, before we dive into our next segment of the show, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you about a fantastic opportunity for you to invest with me. As you know, here at Ice Cream with Investors, I'm passionate about real estate investing and helping you navigate the exciting world of wealth creation through real estate. And that's why, for the first time, I'm thrilled to tell you about an opportunity for you to invest alongside of me. Over the past 3 years, I've been investing in multifamily, mobile home parks, car washes. I've even become the bank and lent out money to fellow real estate investors on a short-term basis. And now you can come join me. If you would like to jump on a call and learn more about this opportunity, head to icecreamwithinvestors.com/invest and find a time for us to connect. And now back to the show.
So I'm in Phoenix, like you mentioned at the beginning. We're allowed to have 10 residents in a home here. You're allowed to have 5 if you do not have fire suppression, aka sprinklers. But if you do, you're allowed to have up to 10. So my 3 care homes, I have 10 residents in each of them. And we'll just go with the middle one, right? Average rates are pretty on track in Arizona with the rest of the country. So we charge right around that $5,500 per month. That brings us in $55,000 of gross income every month. Expenses are high, right? You have caregivers, you have food, you have electricity, you have cable, you have activities, liability insurance, you name it. There's a lot that goes into running these homes. It costs about $35,000 a month to run one of these. Now, our mortgage is a lot less because we got into this 10 years ago, but I want to share like today's numbers so that people can hear and understand this. If we were to be buying that same home right now, it would cost me 10 grand a month. The mortgage or the lease payment or whatever it is on that. That's cash flowing $10,000 a month. That home, I bought it a long time ago, so we're cash flowing $15,000 on it. But if I was to buy it in today's market, I'd be cash flowing 10. So we show people how to do that all across the country because really it's just a beautiful opportunity to make it work with residential real estate. A lot of our typical investing strategies in the single family home realm aren't working right now. But residential assisted living is definitely working.
Yeah, I mean, some public math here. $10,000 mortgage payment's probably about 1.5 million. You put 300,000 down on that for 20%. You're cash flowing roughly 120 grand, 100 grand a year. I mean, that's still a 3-year payback period, which is a phenomenal return, I would say.
Yep. Absolutely. I know people get scared of that. Like, well, this is going to be a huge home. And what do I do with it? It's like, if the numbers can, the cost of care continues to go up. When the cost of real estate goes up, when the cost of your caregivers goes up, the cost of care goes up. 2008, we didn't take a hit. 2020, we didn't take a hit because it all evens out. This is, how it works, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you find homes that would be a good fit for this?
Love that question. The number one thing you're looking for is demographics. We want to be where daughter Judy or son Bob, where they live, eat, work, sleep, and play, right? So you just said yourself, okay, my parents are in their 70s. I'm the one who is potentially either going to have to figure out where they go or whatever that situation. So when we're searching demographics, we're looking for average age of 50 to 70, who's upper middle class, making twice the median income, who's a homeowner and a college grad. Those indicators typically tell me that this is a daughter Judy who can afford to put mom or dad in my care home. And they don't want to drive 45 minutes down the road. They want to drive 5 minutes down the road. So I want to be as close to her as possible. Demographics is number one. The next thing we're looking for is, are there other brand new big boxes being built nearby? Because they've done the internal feasibility studies. They've spent millions of dollars to determine where is the right area to put this. Where's the density? Where's the demand? And so if there's a brand new big box being built, you want to put your RAL at their doorstop, because as soon as everyone finds out how terrible the care is, they're going to be knocking on your door.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm here in Nashville. I'm a little bit outside of Nashville, and in a town called Gallatin, it's like sprung up as this senior community. I mean, it went from like 5,000 people to, I don't know, 40,000 people in the past 20 years, and a majority of those are seniors. And I'm starting to think you're exactly right. Like Nashville's demographic is attracting that higher end service worker. Gallatin's like 30 minutes away from there. They're building all these big box stores. So that's interesting.
Yep. Yep. Demographics is everything.
Who pays? You mentioned private pay and then other options for paying. Is that subsidized by government? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Medicare, Medicaid will pay out about $1,800 per month per resident. And it's going to afford you $1,800 worth of care, which is going to be rice, beans, and hot dogs and, cable network TV. It's not going to be very good, right? That's where you have those high ratios. So I do not recommend going into, government funded level 1, level 2 homes. I do like to focus on level 3 and above. So that is private pay. So most people are paying with long-term care insurance. If you have it, about 10% of the population has it. It's a beautiful way to pay for your care if and when you ever need it. But the rest of people, they're using their cash, their IRAs, their savings. They're selling their physical homes and using that capital to pay for their care needs, or they're leaving it up to their adult children. And this burden a lot of times falls on that sandwich generation who now has to pay for childcare and, their elderly loved ones' care, and it's squeezing them tight. So a lot of times, if your elderly loved ones don't have the money to be able to afford this, it can get, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're stressing me out with that sandwich generation comment because that's, I feel like, exactly where we are right now. And it's a little stressful.
It's very stressful. And what's even crazier? I don't know if you have checked this out. There's a website called genworth.com/cost of care. When you go there, you can type in wherever you live, wherever you invest, whatever. It will show you the average cost of care in your area. My mom's not going to need assisted living, heaven forbid, for another 25 years. So I can bump it up, okay, because there's a toggle button that shows you the future increases. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be about $17,000 a month by the time she needs care on average. And she's not an average lady. She's going to want something nicer. So we're talking 20 grand a month. And that's insane.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You've raised the anxiety meter over here. I know you have an academy and you teach people how to do this. So I want to be cautious not to give away all the secrets here, but I'm very interested in how you find your leads for people that are going to move in. And the reason why I asked this is because I listened to a podcast the other day and they were like, this is the best market to be in, is to capture SEO traffic for folks like yourself and then sell back the leads. So I'm just kind of wondering tactically, how do you find leads for individuals to live in your homes?
Yeah, there's a lot of great ways. Obviously, you are going to want to have a web presence, right? Daughter Judy is probably not on TikTok or Twitter or X, but she's definitely on Facebook and she is definitely searching assisted living in Nashville, right? And so you do want to have a web presence. You'd be shocked at how many of these homes don't even have a website. I don't know how they're doing it, but website, Facebook, all that good stuff. You're also really going to want to build a ton of relationships, geriatric doctors and nurses, elder law attorneys, hospice agencies, all those different people are going to be a beautiful relationship with you to help send people your way and you to send them their way. The third and biggest one is using placement agents. This is an entire industry of people who basically you can pay and get a contract with and say, hey, when daughter Judy finds out her loved one needs care, right? They go to a placement agent and they say, this is the price point, the amenities, the location we're looking for. That placement agent has contracts with different homes. They'll go around and tour different facilities, kind of like a realtor. If they end up choosing your home, it costs the family nothing. It costs the care home owner half of the first month's rent or the full first month's rent. That's what the placement agent makes. So that's in a more expensive way, but an easier way to fill your beds pretty quick.
Which I feel like when you are printing cash, like I think these things do, is nothing to pay 1 month's rent, because that's what you would pay like a long-term residential tenant for a property manager to place them, as well as a month's pay or a full month's pay.
The average stay in a care home is 3.5 years. So for me to give up 1 month, I'll do it all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about residential retention here, because I would assume that at any moment you could unfortunately have some vacancies. So you got to keep that marketing machine going at all times. I'm not involved in this space, but I would see that being something that you would want to do. But talk about how do you retain residents and then make sure your place is always occupied.
Absolutely. Maintaining those relationships is so important. And whether that's something you're doing or your licensed administrator's doing, even when you're full, we always tell our students, you still need to be keeping up with them. So I will often, either me or my administrator will, if Joe moved in and this placement agent placed them, I'll send a photo of Joe reading a book to the placement agent and be like, Joe's having such a great time. Thank you again for placing him here. Like, he's loving it. And we're just so grateful for you, even if we're full, because I don't want to only come to them when I need something, right? It's like your relationship with God, right? You don't want to only pray when you're like, please let me pass the test. No, you want to build the relationship with them. So I always still reach out. Just holiday parties, we'll invite them, right? We're going to open a new care home. I'll call them and say, hey, where are you getting the most calls from? Like, I want to involve you in this. I want you to be a part of this. So just build that relationship and keep it up. Don't only come to them when you need something. Make sure that you are maintaining it and actually forming a true friendship with them.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that about reading the book too, is because we in our business, when somebody refers somebody to our business, like, I make sure to treat them the best I've ever treated them because they are a referral and I want that person to send more referrals. But I also try to be very diligent on circling back with that person and say, hey, I talked to Isabelle, great person. Thanks again for the recommendation. Just letting them know they got taken care of,
Yeah.
because I feel like in the back of their mind, they're always thinking, whatever happened to that? Did that ever come to fruition, or those sorts of things?
Yes. And oftentimes the families won't necessarily follow up with the placement agent either. So if you do, you're going to stand out above the rest. When you invite them to the parties, whether they come or not, it doesn't matter. It's about you extending that invitation, keeping them as part of your community, as part of your quote unquote team. It really just helps build that bond and let them know you are an owner who cares. So now someone else comes up in your area, they're more than likely going to recommend you again.
Yep. You're also helping teach people about this space. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about the program. What does that look like? What can people expect from that?
Yeah, for the last almost 10 years now, we've been hosting 3-day trainings here in Phoenix, Arizona, where, me and our team of experts really go through step by step how to start, own, and operate your own care home from the real estate investor perspective, as well as the owner operator of the business. And you can choose how much or how little you want to get involved, but we kind of show you everything behind the curtains, how to find the homes, fund them and fill them, and really give you the confidence to go out and make this happen. And so we host those about every 6 to 8 weeks. Again, here in Phoenix, because we drive by my home so you guys can see them. We do home tours virtually so you can walk through them virtually. And then we show you other students' homes as well across the country.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Isabelle, anything we missed before we get into our last round here?
I don't know. I think this was good. If anyone wants to learn more, let us know. We're always happy to talk and share. And I'm excited for you to get into this industry too. You'll have to keep up with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to switch us now to our final round. We call this the 4 toppings. Our first one is, what is your favorite book, or what is a book you've read recently that's given you a paradigm shift?
I love the 5 a.m. Club. Have you ever read it?
Okay. No, but it's, yeah, I'm familiar with the concept. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I like that book. Just, starting the day with vigor and making sure to get all the important things done first. It's just a good reminder because the days just get away from us as business owners.
Yeah. Are you an early bird?
I'm actually not too big of an early bird. No.
Gotcha. Yeah. I love getting up early in the morning and paying myself first. So I'll get my meditation time, my prayer time, my journal time, my workout time, all before somebody starts picking up my day. I want to control that first 2 hours, basically.
Yeah, love it.
Our second one is, what are you most proud of in your life?
You know, uh, I'm proud of every single day. I think I'm proud of running a business. I just had my first son 4 months ago. I'm proud of being a
Congrats.
mom. I'm proud of maintaining my friendships and my family and loving and learning from everyone on my team. I feel like I just am proud of myself every day.
I love it. I love it. You could have just said, no, I'm not an early bird because I have a 4 month-old son. And I think we would have all understood what that meant. So
Yeah, the extra half hour sleep, I'll take it. I'll take
yeah,
it.
bless you for having this much energy during the day already.
Yes, thank you.
Our third one is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh. I don't know if this is the best, but when you said that, this is what came to me. My dad always used to tell us, no one cares about you as much as you care about you. And I think that one's important because I think a lot of people walk around the world thinking that everyone cares about them. Everyone's overthinking what they said or what they wrote in that email or whatever. And nobody cares. They're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you. And I think when you realize that, it gives you a lot of freedom and it gives you a lot of power.
Yeah, sometimes I sit at the end of the day and kind of beat myself up over stupid things I've said or missed comments or something like that. And then I think, when did somebody else say something stupid today? And I find it really hard to remember one. And then that's my reminder that, yeah, nobody cares what you think or said.
No.
Our fourth and final one is, if you could sit down and eat a bowl of ice cream with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would say, I've mentioned him now twice. I would definitely say my dad. He passed without me being able to really say goodbye or have a moment. And so much has happened since he passed. And so I would love to just hear from him and know that he's on board with everything that's been going on in all of our lives. So, yep, miss him every day.
Well, no doubt he's looking down and being proud of you as a mother, as a business owner, and carrying forward his legacy in this space altogether. So I hope you carry that forward. But Isabelle, if our listeners wanted to reach out to you, learn more about you, where's the best place we could point them?
Yeah, check out ral101.com. You can download a free book or webinar there, schedule a call with me or the team, but RAL101 is a great place. And then we're on social media at RAL Academy on pretty much all of the platforms. So connect with us there anytime.
Awesome. Isabelle, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Ice Cream with Investors. If you like what we serve you here, it would mean the world to me if you would like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite podcast app.